So while I just admit everyone, I would love it if everyone that's here could just do a quick intro in chat so we can see who's here. And I have one request, as I always do, I'm afraid. Please, when you introduce yourselves, could you give yourself a rating? What is your Reddit knowledge like? Are you a one, like me, absolute beginner? Or are you right on the other end of the spectrum as a five and you are a Reddit guru? Okay, so while I keep adding people, I'm just going to do a quick intro so we can make the most of our time. Firstly, thank you so much for joining us. This all came about after a conversation at the Pavilion GTM where somebody, in fact, a Lucy Hudson, who sadly can't join us today because she's on holiday in Peru, said to me, I'd really love to learn more about Reddit. And I thought, crikey, I know absolutely zilch about this. So I am definitely not the person to be able to tell you about it. But I do know somebody who I'm pretty sure will, which was the wonderful John Berk. So I asked him if he would do a session on Reddit for us. And I thought, well, being slightly addicted to events, I will just set this up as a webinar. Maybe there'll be a couple of other people that would like to join. Little did I know that before we knew it, we had over 400 people signed up. So clearly there is a demand to know more about this space. So I am absolutely delighted to welcome John back. Thank you so much for giving us the time for this. And I will let you get started on upskilling us all on this channel. And can I ask you all to go on mute? Now we will try and have time for Q&A. We'll ask questions as we go as well if they're relevant to what John Beck's talking about. But if we do run out of time, we will make sure we do a follow-up on any of your questions. So just chuck them in chat as we go and I will keep an eye on them all. So John Beck, over to you.
Hello everyone, I'm Canberk, and yeah, after I was speaking with Nicola, I was like, "Are you sure? Like, will there be any people that would be interested with Reddit?" And now we have 60 people live here, 62, and there were like over 420 registrants. So it's a bit weird for me because for me, I was first planning to have a high level session for like maybe 20 minutes, 25 minutes, but now that there's like 420 people, I had to make sure that I give everything I know in this session. So without further ado, let me start sharing my screen. Nicola, can you confirm if you are able to see it?
All perfect.
Perfect. So, uh, firstly, again, I thought it was going to be uh, a really small session, and I thought everyone would know me. But now that there's going to be 400 people, I needed to create a slide to basically introduce myself. So, I'm Jan Berk, and I'm currently head of growth at Hockeystack. Before there, I was a group global head of paid media at Cognizim. Before that, I was head of growth at DeepCrawl. And before that, I co-founded my own B2B company that get acquired after a year, and it was Mobico. In the last 5 years, I managed over 100 million ad spent across 50 companies. Not only I work with my companies in full time, but also I was head of B2B SaaS companies. And one thing I'm not really strong at is the graphic design, as you can see from this slide, but it will get better in the next ones, I promise. So this presentation will have two parts. In the first part, I will be talking about Reddit in a nutshell, like what does the Reddit ad look like, what is the audience like on Reddit, the regional differences, the audience types. And in the second part, I'll be talking about how to run create demand campaigns on Reddit. The first part might be a bit boring compared to the second one, but it is full of important information, so bear with me. Starting with what is Reddit and what kind of audience we have on Reddit, I would like to summarize Reddit as the Frankenstein baby of Facebook and Google. It has a lot of features from Google ads, it has a lot of features from Facebook ads, but none of these features are actually perfect. And Reddit has been really pushing B2B companies to advertise on Reddit. And there has been this common conception about Reddit being full of trolls and memes. However, according to Reddit data, around like 43% of B2B decision makers are on Reddit, but not on LinkedIn. However, this is a data that cannot be really clarified. I actually talked with LinkedIn about it, and they said they don't have Reddit doesn't have any data to back this up, but this is what Reddit is claiming. And contrary to Facebook, Twitter, and LinkedIn, the interesting thing about Reddit is that you don't need to have an account to browse the content. Therefore, even though the number of daily active users on Reddit might be lower than any other platforms like, I don't know, Twitter, Instagram, the monthly traffic of Reddit is actually more than Twitter and LinkedIn combined. And this data was from last month. And in terms of the daily active users, around 50% of the Reddit users are in the US. This is almost 37 million people in the US using Reddit every day. And following US, there's India, UK, Canada, and we are seeing Germany, Spain, France using Reddit as well. But if you are, hello, can you please mute your mics? Nicola, I think you can mute them.
Can you put on mute, please?
The software. Hello, thank you. Sorry, I had to do this. Okay, so what I was saying is that if you are actually targeting EMEA, if you are targeting Middle East or APAC, Reddit is definitely not a channel to use because almost not even 1 million people are using Reddit in APAC or in Middle East. And the other thing about Reddit, the other interesting thing about Reddit, it is desktop first compared to any other platform. Around like 7% of Reddit users opened their app every day in Q4. But when we look at the data in Twitter, it was 18%, Snapchat 25%, Facebook, TikTok, and Instagram, they were like 5x more than Reddit. And even though LinkedIn didn't have this data, we know that LinkedIn is also mobile first. So among all of these social platforms, Reddit is the only platform that is desktop first. And obviously, the first question we need to ask to ourselves is that is Reddit right for you? Because as marketers, we are known for going for the next shiny thing. And we like to, I don't know, maximize our ad channels. But in order to decide if we want to do Reddit or not, we need to first understand if it is the right channel for us. So there's 4 questions that we need to be answering before advertising on Reddit. The first thing is that do you have the capacity to manage another platform? Because Reddit will require a different approach than you have on LinkedIn, a different approach than you have on Facebook and Google, which we will discuss later. The second one is that do you have a solid understanding of your ICP? Because you need to know what kind of communities your ICP are spending their time in. And if you are not really have a if you don't really have a solid understanding of your ICP, then you will struggle with finding those communities. The third one is that you need to be able to create authentic content for Reddit. Like that content is definitely different than LinkedIn content, definitely different than Facebook content. And this content is actually a content that would kind of make your brand team or legal team a bit angry. And the fourth question is, can you answer why? Like, why do you want to advertise on Reddit? Why do you think Reddit is the right channel for you? And in order to find success, it is actually a bit harder to define success on Reddit because, as we discussed earlier, anyone can browse content on Reddit and anyone can therefore be targeted with that ad on Reddit. However, because of this, Reddit cannot accurately track ad frequency or the impact of brand. For example, if we think of LinkedIn, LinkedIn gives us the company level demographics data to measure the impact of brand. Or like if we think of Facebook, Facebook gives us the contact level demographics data. Even Google gives that. But Reddit, because of the anonymity, cannot give this data accurately. The second thing is that they don't have an engagement rate. Like up until recently, you were not even able to optimize ad groups for specific conversion events. You would have one conversion event, but now, okay, there are some improvements, but still you don't get the reach data properly and you can't calculate the engagement rate properly because of the reason that I said in the first part. Therefore, looking at CTR seems to be the lowest hanging fruit to understand the campaign performance in the short term. However, even though there are like a lot of missing features on Reddit, in terms of CPM and CPM, it is way lower than LinkedIn and way lower than Facebook. And obviously, everyone would like to know what is considered good. And like all of my average answers, it depends. For massive communities, the average should be about like 0.7%. There are a lot of posts about what good looks like on Reddit is in Reddit in the marketing community, which has like 1.2 million members. But most of these answers are actually about B2C. And there's almost no data about B2B SaaS companies on Reddit. But from the accounts that I have managed, I found out that around like 0.7% is an okay CTR for massive communities, and around 1.5% CTR is a good CTR for niche communities. And I will explain the difference between massive and niche communities in the following slides. But especially if you're targeting the niche communities, the CTR should definitely be higher than 1%. And in terms of the structure, like the campaign manager structure, Reddit ads account structure, it is pretty similar to what we have on Facebook, Google, and LinkedIn. Here on the right-hand side, you can see the screenshot from the ads manager. And the first one is dashboard. It is basically your homepage that you can see everything. Create campaign, obviously bulk imports. You can import your CSV files. Event managers stand for conversion tracking. There's audience manager in which you can see what kind of audiences you are targeting, and like it is basically showing what type of demographics are engaging with your content. But since Reddit has almost no information about their own audience, because again, you don't say anything when you sign up to Reddit, unlike Facebook or unlike LinkedIn, the audience manager reports are again really basic. And the reports section show mostly the campaign reports and the campaign metrics. There's obviously an AI copywriter feature like all of the ad platforms, and like all of the ad platforms, this feature is very basic, and I would not recommend to rely on that. One interesting thing here that Reddit has is the post library. So if you have a huge account on Reddit and if you are running a lot of ads, you can actually click on post library and see the entire content that you have been promoting or you have promoted previously. So it gives you a good high level view that can be understood what you had been doing in the last couple of, let's say, years. Another good thing about Reddit is that they have the history option, which you can track historical changes easily. Again, this is an option that LinkedIn doesn't have. So like, I really enjoy this feature on Reddit. And one interesting thing that Reddit has, the inventory type. So as we know, Reddit product team also is aware of the fact that Reddit is not the most politically correct platform. So you can either choose expand inventory or standard inventory. If you choose expand inventory, your ads will be shown in every community. So you might end up showing your ads with, I don't know, profanity, with some drugs associated stuff, or with like, I don't know, with violence related stuff. But the standard inventory makes it a bit more safe. However, this is again more like for B2C, because in B2B, we will talk about targeting later. If you are targeting properly, you will never need to worry about expand inventory or standard inventory. And in terms of the campaign structure, it looks very similar, almost identical with other platforms. So there's three layers. It starts with campaigns, then ad groups, then ads. In terms of naming convention, it is the same with Google. And on the campaign level, you choose the objective and the billing. On the ad group level, you choose your targeting and you choose your bid. And then ad groups basically helps you to go with your targeting, but you cannot change any objectives on the ad group level. And like almost all of the ad platforms, Reddit is operating on a second price auction model, which means that you just need to pay 1 cent more than the second highest bidder. So like if you are having a manual CPC with like $2, and if your competitor has a manual CPC of $1, you will end up paying $1 plus 1 cent in order to get to your audiences. In terms of the campaign objectives, again, it is very similar to what we have in other platforms. We have brand awareness and reach. This objective basically makes sure that you penetrate your target market. So the objective here is to reach as many people as possible. And if you want to reach to a wide audience, this is the best option. And here you pay for CPM. The traffic option, it optimizes the CTR. Therefore, if you want to generate more website traffic, traffic option is the better option, but it is also more expensive because Reddit will be prioritizing clicks over reach. It will also hamper reach. So like if you end up reaching 2,000 people with brand awareness slash reach objective, with traffic objective, you might actually end up reaching maybe 1,000 people. With conversions, again, it will optimize to maximize conversions, but it will also hamper the reach. So with conversions, you can actually get more CTR, but definitely less reach than traffic. And the video views option is it is a basically reach objective for videos, and it is trying to maximize the video consumption. So like if you have content that can be consumed within Reddit, this is the best option that you can go with. There's app installs option. It is for B2C. There's catalog sales option, which is like carousel ads on LinkedIn, but think about it more like a product catalog. So you can actually run an ad in which one carousel will be showing shoes, red shoes, the other will be showing blue shoes. So it will be again for B2C. They actually tested lead generation for a couple of months. But as of last week of July, last week they removed that option. And there are two things that we might think here. Either they removed that option because they are going to launch the actual feature, the actual lead generation option, or they removed the option because nobody was using or it was unsuccessful. I'm more inclined towards the second option because if they were going to launch lead generation, I think they would just remove the beta sign and they would just put lead generation probably under conversions. But they removed it completely. So now if you are on Reddit, you are not able to see that option and you are not going to create a campaign with lead generation objective. On the audience side, you can target with three different filters. The first option is communities and interests. So you can target by the communities that the audience might be the member of or interests that audiences are showing. You can target by keywords. This is a new option. It's been around for a year now, I suppose. And you can also target by interest groups. So interest groups is actually much more broader targeting than Facebook because so Reddit has around 15 different main interest groups, and under each interest group there's sub interest groups. I left a link here and we are going to send the slide after this call, so you can click on that link to see every interest group and every sub interest group under it. But basically you can choose industries for an interest group, and under industries you will see, for example, marketing subcategory, sales subcategory, or if you choose technology interest group, you will see startup as a subcategory. So if you have no idea about your audience, this could be an interesting way to understand where your audience is hanging on, but I wouldn't really recommend this because this is very B2C oriented. The other option, and yeah, I think this is going to hunt me down for the rest of my life, but you can technically do ABM on Reddit. So Reddit allows you to add customer list either for inclusion or exclusion. Technically, if you have the emails of your prospects, you can just create a CSV file and import that file to Reddit. So imagine you have like 50 ABM accounts that you want to go after. You can technically get 20 emails of 20 people from each company. You would have like 1,000 emails, and then you can import that list to Reddit. However, one thing we need to consider here is that almost nobody sign ups to Reddit with their professional emails. So the match rates will be really low. From my experience, it is like 2%, if you are lucky 3%. But if somehow you can find the personal emails of your target audience, technically ABM is possible on Reddit. And the other thing I would like to talk about is the placement. So Reddit unfortunately doesn't offer a lot of different placement options. You can either do feed placement or conversation placement, which I will show in the next one. And the placement show is basically showing the ads on the home feed on Reddit or like on the popular feed in the subreddits. But conversation ads look way more native. So you basically put an ad within the conversation, and while someone reads about the comments, they definitely see your ad. So like it is much more native. It looks much more native. And basically it shows the post between the first comment and the post. So like it looks like the top comment. Therefore, you cannot really miss it. Also, you can exclude specific communities and keywords from targeting. For example, if you are targeting marketing community, but if you don't want to target enterprise companies, you can probably exclude a keyword like enterprise marketing or exclude a community like enterprise salespeople. And here on the left-hand side, you can see the home feed placement. So home feed placement looks like a proper ad that you would see on Facebook, you would see on LinkedIn, and you basically get the entire feed there. When we talk about the conversation placement, it looks smaller, but also it looks more native. So once you see the post and once you want to go to the comments, just above the best comment, you see this. So technically, if you don't use an image here, it will look like a proper text, and therefore it will look more native, like a top comment on Reddit. So it basically makes sure that your audience definitely reads about your content if you use conversation placement. So in terms of communities, as I mentioned earlier, there are two types of communities, massive ones and niche ones. But this is actually how I define. Like for Reddit, all of the communities are the same. But for me, any community that has over 3,000 people is a massive community. And also, when we look at the community size, we need to keep in mind that around 50% of these community members are active. And active means they're going to Reddit every week, but the rest 50% are actually not active. So if you are talking about a community with 300,000 people, we need to think of that community as a community with 150,000 people. Also, I would describe massive communities as communities like there's definitely some of the members of your ICP in that community, but there are also a huge amount of people who are just lurking around. So if we talk about, for example, the sales community, there's like 1 million people. And when we were targeting the sales community, we want to target B2B salespeople who are working in SaaS. Like those people are different on Reddit, but maybe 20% of those people in that community are B2B salespeople, but 80% of them B2C. However, uh, again, I'm going to be talking about this more, but CPM is very cheap there. And technically, if you end up reaching those people, and if those people engage with your content, the Reddit algorithm will be able to learn about it and show the content to the relevant people. And in terms of niche communities, the thing about niche communities is that they are really hard to find, and in some cases they might not even exist. But if you find that, you need to use that. For example, if we are talking about I gave a sales example. Let me give you the same example. Salespeople in tech, B2B salespeople in tech. Let's assume that there's a community like that with 30,000 people, and you can target by the UK if you are targeting the UK market, and you might end up having 7,000 people. And assume that the average CPM on Reddit will be like $5. And with a frequency of 1, you can also set up frequency levels per day on Reddit. You can technically spend $35 per day to reach everyone in one campaign. But again, this is ignoring every other variable. So like it is ignoring the fact that there's no competitor. It is ignoring the fact that everyone is active in the community, but it is technically possible. And if we think this on LinkedIn, it will most likely be 10 times, maybe 15 times more expensive on LinkedIn. And if we assume that 5% of your ICP is in the market, this will give you around like 350 people. Interesting. Sorry, I just got a notification. Apparently, we have 10 minutes, but weird. I will take care of. Okay. Oh, interesting. Sorry. And yeah, so if we assume that 5% of your ICP is in the market, this will give us around like 350 people among 7,000 people that are ready to buy. However, advertising to small companies creates 3 issues. Firstly, you cannot scale the effort and increase the budget if successful because it is limited. Like if there's 7,000 people, probably it will increase to 7,500 people, but you cannot make it increase. Like it increases organically. And if it is successful, you cannot just be like, okay, let me increase the budget from $5 to $50 because the audience size remains the same. Therefore, it is the economics of scale. You might not expand it as much as you would want it. The second problem is the ad frequency. Since the audience size is smaller, you will hit the frequency levels more. So you will be needing to create more creatives because otherwise you will drain your audience. And the third problem is that if other advertisers are targeting the same niche community, since there's no other audience to expand for the Reddit algorithm, this will increase the cost of advertising on Reddit drastically. And when starting with Reddit ads, I would recommend targeting at least 3 communities to see which works better. Because you might have one niche community or 2 niche communities, but if you have 3, at least you can compare the performance to each other easily. And the other option is the keyword targeting, and this is a new option, a relatively new option. It's been around for a year now. Instead of targeting your audience by interest groups or communities, you can just target keywords that appear in the post. So like you can target by attribution software, you can target by sales intelligence software. So like if they are using those keywords, your ad will be shown under that comment. And Reddit claims that the algorithm understands the context. So, for example, if someone is talking shit about your company name, the ad will not appear there. This is what Reddit claims. However, I have seen the opposite. Like, there's no filter. So, like, if someone is talking bad about your company or the keyword, your ad will still appear there, and they are working on that. But there's this risk. And unlike Google Trends, Reddit Trends does not exist. So you cannot actually see the historical volumes of keywords. However, Reddit gives an estimate. So like once you enter keywords on the right-hand side, you will see estimate audience sizes. In most of the cases, it is like 50%, 60% accurate, but at least it gives you an idea. And if we talk about the keyword levels, you can filter these keyword levels just like you have on Google. So like you can have a general intent keyword level, you can have brand keyword level and competitor keyword level. And I think competitor keyword level is the lowest hanging fruit. Like if someone's talking about your competitor, you can basically make sure that your ad shows up there and your ad will look like this. And I don't know what happened to the screenshot. It looks blurry, but yeah, basically the keyword ads look like that. And in terms of the creatives, you can have 4 different creative types on Reddit. The first thing is the text ad. So here you can have an ad like that. It is smaller, and if you want, you can either have it without image or with image. But if you do without image, it looks more native, like it looks like a comment. Therefore, it gets more engagement. The other thing you can do is image ads, so like static single images on LinkedIn, or you can have video ads like this, and they basically look exactly the same like image ads, but they have a play button. Or you can have gallery ads, just like carousel ads on LinkedIn, but since they don't actually look like a Reddit formatted ad, like they don't look natively on Reddit, they don't get a lot of engagement, especially in B2B. Therefore, my recommendation would be here to use either text ads without images or image ads or video ads. And unfortunately, unlike Facebook, LinkedIn, and Google, there's no ad library from Reddit. But there's a company for Reddit ads called AdLibro. You need to pay like $50 to use it. It is one-time fee, and there's no demo, unfortunately. But they have over 95,000 creators. So you can basically go there, pay the price, and then write the company name and see their content. Uh, but hopefully Reddit ad library will be coming soon. I was told it will be maybe Q4, and after this we will have a proper open source library. So in terms of creatives,
Hello.
uh, I would like Chatanya, can you please mute yourself? Thank you. In terms of creatives, I would like to show what kind of creatives we went for Reddit when I was at Cognizant. So we first start with what we had on LinkedIn, and the engagement levels, the CTR levels were awful. And then we tried something else, like we had a complete different approach that the brand team and the legal team did not like. On the right-hand side, as you can see, the LinkedIn ads look really, I don't know, professional, formal. It was all about product value. And on the left-hand side, it was our ad for the sales community. And here it was Chris, my intern back then. He was basically crying because he was an SDR and he was having the 75th phone number today. And this ad actually was one of the best performing ads on Reddit, and actually it brought a close won deal after like a couple of weeks. This is what creatives should look like on Reddit. And another example is this, is a static image. Again, on the right-hand side, you can see our product focus is on LinkedIn with Cognism. And again, it was more about value focus. It was more about features. And on the left-hand side, it was just a meme. And it was like, okay, does he buy it? No, but he can hurt you in other ways. You seem to be hungry for pipeline, and yet you use the contact data that was valid in 2015. And again, this got the most engagement in when we look at the all static images. The engagement levels were even better than what we had on LinkedIn. This is the type of creative that you should be focusing on Reddit. And there are other stuff about Reddit. The first thing is that they're out of bots. So even with Reddit measures to prevent bots from clicking your ads, around like 30, maybe 35% of your traffic from Reddit will be bots. And Reddit reps tell you that they are not charge you for bot clicks, but it is not really correct. Like they charge at this maybe 20, 25% of the bot clicks. And there are two solutions. The first thing is that you can set up a frequency cap to 1 for all of your campaigns that are not remarketing or keyword campaigns. And if you do that, everyone will see your ad only once a day per ad group. So even if you're showing your ads to bots, you will make sure that bots will not see your ad for more than once. The second solution that can be used together with the first solution is to exclude location known for bot farms. For example, if you target the US, you might know that Ashburn is a bot farm. Like there's a huge AWS data center there, and it is worldwide known as a bot farm. So like you might consider excluding Ashburn. This is what I do every time I target the US market, and it is actually really helpful. It is probably like helping around like 30, 35% of my bot traffic. So like still there would be 70% of the bot traffic that will be undetected. But if you do the frequency level there, then it will also help you a bit more. So you can actually cut off around like half of the bot traffic by these two solutions. And Reddit is recommending merging multiple communities in the same ad group instead of advertising all of the ad groups, all of the communities in different ad groups. But if you do that, you will not be able to see which community, which community or which ad group is bringing website visitors, and you won't be able to understand the pipeline impact on the community level. So you won't actually understand which community brings pipeline and which doesn't. Therefore, my recommendation there is to have different ad groups for different communities. And the other thing I would like to mention is that once you create a campaign, you cannot change the objective or you cannot change the billing option. So in terms of budget and ad spend, obviously everyone has one question. How much money will I need for Reddit? And it depends on obviously a lot of factors. And in this two slides, I'm going to try to explain how we can calculate the minimum budget you will need for Reddit. The first thing you need to consider is that you can start with feed placement on Reddit because it has lower CPCs than conversation placement. The minimum budget you can set up is $5 per day per ad group. So technically you can start with $5, but again, this doesn't mean that you should do $5 because it rarely works. And one thing to consider is that Reddit can spend up to 20% of your extra, 20% more than your budget. And in general, CPM is around $3 to $10 for B2B SaaS, but in most of the cases I see around like $7, $8 CPM. Sorry. I- And now, okay, it is the calculation part. The first thing is that you need to identify your target communities and their member counts. So let's say that you have two communities that you want to target. Then you need to determine the minimum daily budget. Let's say you are going to go with $5. Then you are going to calculate the total daily budget based on the number of ad groups that you are going to be targeting. And then you are going to adjust the budget based on the community size. So here, let's go with an example. Imagine you have two communities. One of the communities, community A, has 10,000 members. The second community, community B, has 5,000 members. And you decide to spend $5 per community per day. Therefore, the total minimum daily budget will be $10 for Reddit. And then since you have in total 15,000 members in the communities, 10,000 in one community, 5,000 in one community, it will make 15,000 members. And community A will have 10,000 members. Therefore, it should get 67% of the budget. Community B has 5,000 people, and out of 15,000 people, it has 33% of the total number of people. Therefore, it needs to get 33% of the budget. So the total budget was $10 per day from two ad groups. Since community A will get 67% of the budget, it should get 6.67 cent dollars per day. Community B will get 33% of the budget, so it should get $3.33 per day. But since the minimum budget per ad group is $5, the total daily budget you need to be spending is $11.67. Then if you multiply this by 30, you will end up with $350 monthly budget. And you need a 20% buffer for potential overspend. Therefore, your minimum budget will be $420. So this is the minimum viable budget. But for more effective campaigns, obviously you need to consider increasing the budget based on your advertising goals and competition. But yeah, if you have two communities to target, one of them has 10,000 members, the other has 5,000 members. This is the way that you need to approach understanding the budget. So the second part is the creating demand part. And in this part, I'm going to be talking about all of the stuff I had been doing on Reddit and how you can use Reddit to create demand for B2B SaaS. Before going into that, I would like to start with the definition of demand creation. And this is from Refine Labs Demand One-on-One playbook. And it is available in the Vault. It is the content library by Refine Labs. And it is a definition that I use all the time. Demand creation is the act of proactively educating your target market, who may not be able to aware of the following: the problems or changes your product solves, your category, how their workflow could be improved with your product, or your overall brand presence. And considering that around 5% of your buyers are actively seeking solution for their problems, if you want to reach your growth goals, you cannot just capture that 5% of demand, because it will become too small and it will become too expensive to capture this over time. Therefore, to grow effectively, you should create demand with the rest of the market, such as by amplifying and distributing your message and content on different awareness channels. And in terms of create demand campaigns, when we say creating demand on Reddit, we should think of two campaign models. The first one is a reach objective, which you can use with static images and video images. The second one is the video view objective, which you can use for videos. The first one basically maximizes your distribution. So you make sure that your ad is being distributed among the communities or keywords that you are targeting. The second one makes sure that your video is being consumed on Reddit. Therefore, if you want to educate the market about your product, video views is a really good option. Because essentially we want to penetrate the TAM, like we want to understand and penetrate TAM to create demand, and we want to reach as many people as possible. And we should always consider ourselves in the t equals 0 point, because we don't know what communities look like on it. Like we have no understanding what percent of those communities are ICP, what kind of those communities, what percent of those communities actually know about our product. Therefore, we need to assume that nobody knows the product, and we need to assume that we have to target this audience with the education content, not with the conversion content, unless you are running remarketing campaigns. And this was the account structure I was using at Cognism. I'm not going to be talking about the cold product offer and remarketing offer, because we are going to be talking about the demand creation part here. And as the account grew further and further, we had to split the account more. So we started to split by region. Then we start to split by community on the campaign level. Currently, what I recommend is to start with like one campaign and put communities under that campaign. But obviously, if those communities grow and if you have a lot of traction in those communities, you might consider creating separate campaigns from each community, because then you can adjust budget for each of the communities. But to start with, sorry. To start with, I definitely recommend starting with a campaign, then under communities under the campaign. And Reddit is foundationally B2C network. Therefore, targeting mainly focuses on interest-based targeting or community-based targeting. Therefore, for B2B, we should be focusing mostly on community targeting, especially the subreddits under these communities, because if we go with interest-based targeting, it will be too wide and you will not be able to find your audience. Like it will be too hard to find your audience compared to community-based targeting. The other thing you can do is the keyword targeting, but you need to make sure that you have high volumes on the keyword targeting. And if you have a niche solution, for example, for Cognizant, keyword targeting was working for the sales intelligence software. But for Hockeystack, it doesn't work because there's not enough volume for marketing attribution software on Reddit. And some examples that you can test in communities are like sales community, marketing community, they have over 1 million members. And content marketing, digital marketing communities, B2B sales communities, they have over 200,000 members. These communities are really good communities to experiment with. And as I mentioned in the previous one, currently what I recommend with Reddit, if you are just starting with Reddit, I recommend creating one campaign and then add groups for each community. The ideal structure for me would be having different campaigns for each community once you scale, because with the normal approach, you can allocate different budgets for different communities. However, in order to understand what kind of budget you need to allocate for each community, you need to understand the performance of each community. Therefore, I would start with two campaigns, and under each campaign, there would be three different communities. And I would split campaigns by the size of communities, so large community campaign and niche community campaign, because if you merge niche communities and large communities together under one campaign, niche communities are more expensive. Therefore, they will not get enough budget, or they will get the entire budget. There's no between. And you might end up reaching niche communities and you might not end up reaching large communities or vice versa. Therefore, if you split your campaigns by large community and niche community campaigns alone, it will be more effective. And in terms of the demand creation, at first, obviously, finding and targeting those niche communities might seem more effective for everyone. But my recommendation here is to do both, like targeting both massive communities and niche communities. Because if a community is so niche, maybe your audience isn't even there because it is so niche that they couldn't find it. And due to the cheap CPMs that we can have in massive communities, it is actually really suitable for demand creation because you can actually penetrate the community way cheaper than you can do with niche communities. And technically, if you reach your audience in those massive communities, and if that audience engages with your content, the Reddit algorithm should be able to find the lookalikes easier and faster. Therefore, you can actually reach your target audience probably faster in massive communities. And also, again, if your keywords have high volumes, then you should definitely target those keywords. But unfortunately, this is not for everyone. Like, again, those keywords need to be really high volume. And measuring success. So the first thing we need to understand when we advertise on Reddit is that we shouldn't be expecting direct conversions from it. Like if you are doing remarketing, yes, but I'm talking about the demand creation side. We shouldn't be expecting direct conversions, but we need to treat it as a brand awareness channel. So what we need to be looking at, if we are promoting static images or like text ads, we need to be looking at impressions, clicks, and CTR. If you are promoting video campaigns, then video views and completion rates. If you don't have it already, self-report attribution field to your demo pages is a great way to understand the impact of Reddit, because most of people actually start writing Reddit after we start promoting with Cognizant. Like it took maybe a couple of weeks until we saw the first Reddit answers. And as I discussed earlier, reach data isn't available and engagement rate data isn't available. But you can actually create a custom field on Reddit, which is actually a good feature. And you can technically find it by impressions divided by frequency divided by community size, which community size would be manual input by you. But you can actually find that penetration rate technically. However, again, you need to assume the impact of users, like the users who don't log in on Reddit. So like people can still see your ad, they are not users. You need to calculate that as well. Like you need to put a buffer to that, maybe like 20% buffer, maybe 30% buffer. But you can technically calculate that penetration rate. And if you have more than 50% penetration rate for a community after a month, and you don't see any self-report attribution answers containing Reddit, then you might want to double check your strategy. You might want to double check the communities you are targeting or your ad content. Because if you're actually reaching out 50% of your community, 50% of your audience in that community, you should be able to see some conversions coming. And to wrap up, in order to get started, we need to follow this 8-step approach on Reddit. The first thing is that you need to find relevant subreddits. So which communities will be your communities, which communities will be your massive communities, and which communities will be your niche communities. The second thing is that you need to structure your campaigns. So as I mentioned, separate campaigns for each community once you scale. But to start with, you can go with one campaign for large communities and one campaign for niche communities with ideally 3, maybe 4 different communities. Therefore, you will be able to understand which communities perform better compared to others. Then yeah, as I mentioned, you need to split your campaigns by large community and niche community. And if possible, you can also split your campaigns by in-feed campaigns and conversation campaigns. This will also give you an idea about which type of ad placement works better for your company. The fourth thing is that you need to make sure that your content and creatives are crafted for it. You cannot just use what you have on LinkedIn. We did, and it doesn't work. The fifth thing is that you need to focus on creating in-feed content, meaning that your audience should be able to consume that content within the feed without leaving Reddit. There on desktop, the audience intent is to be on Reddit, and you need to show them the content that can be consumed within feed without leaving the website. Then once you launch the campaigns, you can compare the community performance after like 7 to 10 days or after you reach at least 1,000 people. So if you reach 1,000 people for each community, then you will have enough data to measure the performance. And if you see that one community is performing better than the other, then that number will probably not change. Like if you see a community performing better than the others, it will most likely stay the same for the rest of the time period. And once you see there are some top communities that are performing amazingly, you can expand them to separate campaigns. So you can create separate campaigns for each community there. And the last thing is to understand the platform metrics. So again, you can look at the in-platform metrics, but the self-attribution answers will be more helpful for you to measure the performance and understand how Reddit is impacting your pipeline. And that's me. Thank you so much for bearing with me and with all of technical difficulties.
Oh, John Beck, so much information. I'm getting lots of requests. Are we going to get the slides? Because everyone's frantically taking screenshots. I promise we will
Yeah.
send them. We will also send the recording, the 2 recordings. So thank you for bearing with us. So you can go back over any of this as well. Now, we've had a few questions, and I'm going to start off with one that I thought was really interesting. So if you want to go and test out Reddit, of all your channels and marketing budget, where have you reduced it, if you're not going to get any extra, sadly, to increase your spend on Reddit? Where would be your recommendations?
So firstly, I need to understand what channels they're on. So like if there are like 5 channels, Facebook, LinkedIn, Google, Bing, I would go with Facebook. However, considering that most of the B2B SaaS companies are focusing on 2 major channels, Google and LinkedIn, I would look at their Google account, and if they are running some mid-intent keyword campaigns, like I would definitely keep brand, I would definitely keep competitors and high-intent keyword campaigns. But if they have any mid-level keyword campaigns or low-intent keyword campaigns, I would kill them and allocate that budget for Reddit. If they only have high-intent brand and competitor campaigns on Google, then I would have to go LinkedIn, and I would probably, like when we think about it, most of the B2B companies should be spending $400 per day on LinkedIn, if not more. So it is like you can technically spend your 1 day LinkedIn budget on Reddit for a month, technically. So what I would do would probably be like decrease the LinkedIn budget by maybe 1%, 2%, and use that remaining budget for it because it will be again so much cheaper than what they have on LinkedIn.
Thank you, Miguel. I hope that helped. Mark asked a good question. I don't think it's naive at all. Lots of people are experimenting with Reddit marketing by posting rather than ads. What's your view on that?
Tried, tried by myself, tried with Upwork freelancers because you need to have a good karma in order to be shown up. The thing is that the moderators on Reddit are really smart, especially in B2B, especially in marketing. And as soon as they realize that your content smells like an ad, smells like a promotion, they block that content. Like you might craft a content that doesn't look like an ad, but still you won't be getting a lot of impressions from other people. People need to engage with that content in order for your content to be at the top. Or like you can create a post, but a lot of people need to be commenting under that post in order to be viral. So it is really hard. Again, I tried by myself. I tried with a lot of Upwork freelancers who have a lot of amazing karma. It didn't work for me, but I don't want to say it won't work for anyone, but it didn't work for me.
Thank you. Basil, you've got a question. Thanks for being patient.
Of course. Thank you so much, Canberk, for all the valuable information you've shared. I never thought about advertising on Reddit. It's never been on my radar. So thank you for opening my eyes up to it, and I'll definitely look into it. I do have a slightly different question. We've tailored this content to B2B, which is absolutely magnificent. Could you offer anything like in terms of if you're doing B2C, you know, if there are opportunities that you've seen or you know of or resources that we could go and look into?
That's something I cannot help you with. I haven't done B2C for a long time.
Okay. All right.
But Basil,
Thank
that's a good question. I can see if we've got a B2C expert and we can do maybe a mini session with them with my addiction to organizing webinars. Um,
Thank you
Venkatesh,
for setting it up, by the way.
pleasure. Venkatesh.
Yeah, hello, Canberk. So we have watched your sessions. It's very good insights you have provided about Reddit. So we are doing a lot of Reddit campaigns for our B2B product. So quick question here. So I have missed your session for the first 15 minutes. I don't know you have mentioned about the free form ads. There's a new interaction in Reddit. So for me, it's working well in terms of CTR, in terms of conversion. So, do you have any good insights about that as well? If you can share, it would be very good thing for us.
What kind of ads did you say? Can you repeat that, please?
Sorry, Canberk, I didn't get you.
Can you repeat that? What kind of ad format did you say?
Free form ads. So,
On
I
Reddit.
think a month back, Reddit introduced that free form ad in the brand awareness campaign.
I still don't have it in my account. It might be beta,
Okay,
but I don't
okay.
have it in my account.
Maybe they are in the testing phase. Okay, got it. Cool,
Interesting
yeah.
though. Okay, I'm going to ask to my Reddit rep because I never seen that in my account.
Cool, yeah. So I haven't seen it, so I probably start a new campaign in the brand awareness to make a new feature to educate for my audiences. So at the time, I have seen a new ad format called freeform ads. So we can, I think, the 50,000 character limit for that ad format. So we can include a blog in that specific ad format.
Okay, I will definitely give it a
Yeah,
try.
sure. Can be waiting for your insight on that.
We shall have an investigation. Thank you. Question from Thomas, who just says, can you repeat the audience size where you split the large versus niche community?
I would say 300,000.
Okay, that's really helpful. And also, just to repeat, just to solidify in everyone's heads, question from Alex. Do you have any benchmark metrics for things like CTR, which I think you mentioned at the beginning?
So if we are talking about the massive communities, I would say 0.7%. If we are talking about niche communities, it should be around 1.5%.
Okay, so 1.5 for niche, and for the broader ones, 0.7.
Yeah, and this is for B2B SaaS.
Fantastic. So, John Berker, if people have got further questions, what's the best way of them connecting with you? Is it okay if they reach out to you on LinkedIn?
Yeah, 100%. And if you want to talk more about it, I also have a link that you can directly book sometime with me. But if you have a quick question, you can always shoot me a message on LinkedIn, and I'm always active.
Okay, well, we're going to wrap up there so everyone has time for lunch. We will be sending out the deck and the recording as soon as I have it. And I will also include John Berk's LinkedIn and also a link. So if you do want to book some bespoke one-to-one time with him, he's an excellent troubleshooter, then you can do that as well. So thank you so much for putting that together off my random request. Thank you everyone for joining. It's so nice to know there are other beginners in this space, and I will see what I can do on a B2C one as well. So have a wonderful rest of day,